Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Tad Stefanek, Robert Paris and John Vias, Peter Brown with the weather, and Jolie Atwood with the community calendar. Thank you for joining us. Chief Michael Kent reports that a Roxbury man was arrested after an alleged altercation with officers who were responding to a report of an unwanted subject at a local hotel earlier this month. Ashton Ross, 34, of Roxbury, was charged with assault with a dangerous weapon, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct. According to police on Thursday, August 13th at approximately 8:15 p.m., the Burlington police responded to a local hotel to help remove a disruptive patron. When officers requested that the subject, later identified as Ross, leave the building, he declined. Shortly after that, it was determined that Ross has an existing warrant out of Boston for assault with a dangerous weapon. When officers attempted to take Ross into custody, an altercation ensued in which Ross allegedly drew a knife. He allegedly struck one officer with the knife, which cut his uniform, shirt, and ballistic vest. The officer was evaluated at a local hospital as a precaution, but was not injured. Police say Ross fled the scene and was taken into custody after a brief foot pursuit. He was arraigned on August 14th. Judge David Frank ordered the defendant held on a $1,000 bail on this case, and his bail was revoked on his open case. Ross is scheduled to appear in the Woburn District Court for a pretrial hearing on September 17th. Chief Kent said incidents like this highlight the bravery and dedication of Burlington officers who show in the face of great risk. He added he is grateful the officer was not injured and thanks all who responded for their commitment to protect the community. As the school department prepares to open schools, the Board of Health took a tour of Burlington High School on Tuesday and then met virtually with administration officials and the different school principals to discuss the reopening plans. Superintendent Eric Conti and the principals outlined the hybrid model and how it will work in the different schools. This includes elementary schools having a shortened day with remote learning in the afternoons, and the preschool, middle school, and high school students being in the buildings some of the days of the week and remotely on other days. They also outlined how the classrooms will be set up and how entering and walking the hallways will be conducted for social distancing. In the middle school, there are plans to have teachers switch classrooms instead of students between periods whenever possible. There will also be an emphasis on outdoor learning whenever possible, and tents have been purchased for the elementary schools to help with that goal. Getting children outside will also give them a chance to remove their masks. Superintendent Conti says he thinks it's important to get students back into the classroom and added the current situation in the state and in Burlington in regards to the pandemic makes it possible to do so. Here's a look at what he had to say.
If we were a community that had a positivity rate, again, over 5%, I'm not sure I would make the recommendation that I'm making now. But as Dr. Weiner mentioned, we're under 1% now. And I just think that it'll never be zero. And we feel that we have all the plans in place to minimize risk. We can't eliminate risk, but minimize risk and bring kids back into school. And we're doing that and also giving families a choice. If they don't want to return their kids, they can have their kids taught fully remote.
Members of the Board of Health had some questions, including if changes would have to be made in the school's evacuation and shelter-in-place plans, to which Dr. Conti said those considerations are in the works. They also asked about keeping kids separate at recess, and were told that while there would be outdoor mask breaks, they would not be using playground equipment. Overall, members of the board were happy with the plans. Here is member David McSweeney commenting.
I too, as like Dr. Saltzman, am a proponent of opening the schools and going back for the school year. Was nervous though, as we all are, I'm sure, on this call or in this meeting this afternoon about the safety of the children, and it was skeptical that we could do it in a good manner. And I have to say, after taking the tour this afternoon, that I was really impressed with everything that you folks are thinking about and how you're thinking about it. Um, and it's not just a plan just to go through the exercise, but it was actually a plan that was well thought through and very thorough. So I appreciate the efforts of you and your staff. I feel as any plan is not going to be a silver bullet, if you will, and solve every case scenario. I do think that as we open up the schools and students come back in, you satisfied the bulk of the issues and the concerns.
You can find the full meeting on our website at bcat.org/bnews. Another group with a big interest in the plans to reopen schools is the district's teachers. BNEWS Director Rich Hosford spoke with Burlington Educators Association President Patrick Murphy about the union's views on the current plans. He has this report.
The planning to reopen schools continues, and as of right now, the administration is looking at a hybrid model where students will be in the classrooms for shortened periods and learning remotely the rest of the time. District leaders and school committee members say it is important to have students in the buildings if possible for better engagement and socialization, though some families have opted to go full remote and some high-risk educators will also be working virtually. Earlier this summer, the Burlington Educators Association had signed on to a regional letter of teachers' unions pushing for a full remote start to the school year. However, in an interview with new BEA President Patrick Murphy, he explained that the views of the organization have changed.
That's a document from the summer, and certainly nothing is set in static. And I still agree with very much with the sentiment of that letter, that our reentry should be guided by science, not by a school calendar, that districts should be held accountable for meeting those safety benchmarks, assuring that our buildings are safe places to go into. And at the moment, I feel that we are working very well together to meet all those benchmarks to get to a place where we all feel that our buildings are as safe as they can possibly be for both the staff and the students that are going into them.
Patrick said everyone wants students back in the building, as long as everything is done to make it as safe as possible.
I think I can safely say that no one wants to be back in the classroom with students more than the teachers of Burlington Public Schools. From the union side, we just want to make sure and have the assurances that health and safety benchmarks are met. Of course, there's no foolproof, 100% safe situation. But the three school committee, the BEA, and district administration, we all share the same goal of making our schools as safe as possible for staff and students and the community at large that they're coming from and going back to before and after school. We want to return to in-person learning. We just want to make sure as best we can that it is a safe environment to go back into.
He also said he thinks the model as it stands right now looks like a workable plan and that moving forward, the emphasis has to be on keeping students in the classrooms.
I think we're working towards a hybrid model that I am feeling comfortable with. I think one of the things we really wanted to make sure is we want to do everything possible to prevent a situation that will jolt us back home. I believe that's more detrimental to the students to sort of get back into the building and then have to go remote again than a phase in. I am feeling pretty good and feeling confident that the three organizations are working very well together right now to make sure those benchmarks are in place. We're meeting those benchmarks to, as best we can, assure health and safety for our BEA members, students, and like I said before, and the community at large.
Finally, Patrick said that like everything else during this pandemic, things are uncertain and may need to change as the situation evolves.
We all know right now, all of us are in really uncharted territory. Sometimes we feel like we're sort of building the plane as we're flying along here. So if that's a situation we're in, we just need to make sure that we're guided by what the science says and that we're focusing on keeping all of our staff and all of our students safe and healthy.
With BEA President Patrick Murphy, I'm BNews Director Rich Hosford.
Get informed about the upcoming state primary on September 1st by watching a well-produced debate among the Democratic candidates for the 6th congressional district that includes Burlington. The Route 3/93 DTC coalition, comprised of 7 Democratic town committee chairs, recently held a double a debate feature featuring incumbents U.S. Representative Seth Moulton and challengers Jamie Belcito and Angus McQuilkin. The debate, moderated by State Representative Tram Nguyen at the North Andover Community Access TV, was a conversation-style event. The topics touched on issues both foreign and domestic. They included international trade and trade deals, conflicts overseas, and relations with international allies and partners. More close to home, they discussed issues related to jobs, including how to ensure the local thriving biotech industry stays in the district. They also spoke on transportation issues, including the possibility of a new rail system. There was also talk about healthcare workers, both how to keep them in the region and how to protect them during the pandemic. One big issue was education. There was some debate around how to open schools safely, and also a discussion on how to fix underlying problems in the nation's school systems. Housing and how to make housing affordable for first-time buyers and seniors was also discussed. They also spoke about protecting Medicare and Social Security. You can find a link to the debate on our website at bcattv.org/bnews. The BHS Red Devils Marching Band isn't missing a beat. Because of the pandemic, they couldn't hold their normal summer activities, but they came together for a less than traditional form of their annual band camp. BNEWS reporter Tad Stefanak has this look.
Good evening.
With Burlington schools preparing for hybrid, remote, in-person learning, and high school sports schedules being shuffled, it can be said, the band played on. The Burlington Red Devils Marching Band held its annual band camp, just like everything else, using teleconference.
We're very used to doing our own thing and sort of operating with outside the box. So we basically just applied to be able to do band camp online in some capacity. Our approach to online camp was really like, we want to still do marching band things together, but maybe this is a chance for us to do some more non-traditional things, or things that we always kind of say, we would do this if we had more time, or kind of a different platform. We kind of had the idea that we would do half the camp as like a series of workshops for students and staff.
If you're in the Battery, then go to the Google Classroom and find the Battery link and go ahead and join into that.
And then we would do the other half as more traditional rehearsals, using it not only for the season, but also maybe to take back to their homes and their situations right now. So in the rehearsal sessions, we did a session where we were mostly just working on marching, which is fun to do over Zoom because, like, you know, obviously the camera is only this wide. So we did a lot of stuff mostly just like in spot and things to develop.
Look at this, the entire marching band looking great.
Movement skills and sense of time, just trying to be creative with the parameters of working online. So our idea is that at the end of the week, that each of the sections will have a video that they put together. So we'll compile footage of rehearsals during the week. We'll have students send in individual videos. The plan is that we'll put something together for each section. So that way at the end of the week, they can at least get a sense of some of the stuff they did during the week, some of the stuff that they performed in person. You know, it's so bittersweet because a lot of these seniors were just told that they're not going to have, you know, a competition season. They won't get to travel and do all the things that they're used to. But so far, I've just been so proud of how everyone's handled it. And we've had over 90% attendance.
One band, one sound, one sound.
No matter what happens, we're going to make the best of it and just do our best to keep students safe and keep them involved in our activity.
Via video conference with the Burlington Red Devils Marching Band, I'm BNews reporter Tad Stefanak.
A Burlington 3D printing company is looking to expand its operations as it moves from research and development to commercial products. Digital Alloys Inc., a tech startup company with 21 employees located at 37 North Ave, is set to appear before the Planning Board on September 3rd for a special permit to occupy more of the building in which it currently sits. In a cover letter to the board, production manager Daniel Girardi said that the company's goal is to build 3D printer prototypes and develop their printing process. Their first major goal is to print parts to be sold to customers, and a long-term goal is to manufacture and sell printers. To accomplish this, he said they needed additional room to grow. Their plan is to deliver their first printed part by the end of year 2020, with a printer production estimated at approximately 2 years out. To do that, they will require much more space than this building is providing and to go into full-scale production. Young colleagues and former BCAT High School club members Ethan Rousseau and Flynn Reardon have opened up their own freelance production studio known as Lumetri Digital. BNEWS reporter John Vias visited with them and has this report.
A new freelance video production company in Burlington, Lumetri Digital, is born. Created by two recent high school graduates from the class of 2020, Shawshene Tech's Flynn Reardon and Burlington High's Ethan Rousseau.
We do realize that it sounds like the color effect in Premiere, Lumetri color, which is kind of, serendipitous, but we didn't quite realize that beforehand. So I think that that's something that you could correlate it to because it's, video related and all that.
Their first video promotes Phil's Blue Hat, a fundraiser to raise awareness for illiteracy, where Flynn's brother, Riley Reardon, caddies at Stone Meadow Golf Course in Lexington, Massachusetts.
My dad had this idea to do this little event with my brother, and he thought at first it would be a good idea to document it and go through it and film the whole thing. And then I approached Ethan and I was like, oh, this could be, because originally I was just going to do a little video on my own for my dad to have. But then I said to Ethan, why don't we do this as our first thing? It gives us this testing operation where we get to try out our new format and that kind of thing with somewhat of a professional event. We were there for the whole day shooting that, and we just went around with Riley and filmed him golfing, and the interviews with both Riley and Scott Carroll, who was the general manager of Stone Meadow.
When Flynn pitched me the idea for this, it was 2 days after we had come up with Lumetri. And he was like, I've got us a gig. And I was like, what? I was very surprised that we got that fast. But if it worked out, and it was certainly something that I think kind of gave us a push head start to try and making stuff here. So
Flynn and Ethan got their start at Burlington Cable Access Television as volunteers, creating their own content for YouTube and playing an active role in BCAT's after-school program for high school students, Speak of the Devils. Now they're ready to take on some new challenges and expand their creativity.
I think that we just wanted something here to be able to, call ourselves, to have people be like, oh, it's, Flynn and Ethan making videos. It's no, it's we've got this thing now that we can advertise and show to people and have just kind of one name if we want to bring more people in and that kind of thing.
The two young colleagues already have more creative ideas in store for the future of Lumetri.
Me and Ethan had been talking for quite a while about just doing stuff to make short films and that kind of stuff.
Years.
So we just kind of wanted to officially make a brand and name to work under. And that's what we did with Lumetri. And we're still developing it each day and day.
Yeah.
But I think with what we have right now, I think we're pretty happy.
This is John Vias for BNEWS Weekly.
Wonderful to see more BCAT alumni making their mark out in the world. Plastic production requires an enormous amount of energy and resources, causing carbon emissions and contributes to global warming. In this green corner, Mass Recycling President Gretchen Carey, also a BCAT board member, shares some of the best ways to reduce the ramifications of plastic in your home.
I would suggest that if you are looking to lessen the amount of plastic in your life, think about what it is that you're working with on a daily basis. So coffee cups, if you're picking up your coffee or your tea from a store on the way to work, consider bringing a travel mug that you could use over and over again instead. They actually respond very well to it nowadays. They encourage you by giving you a discount a lot of times. Another thing is a reusable water bottle, which you can get it in glass, you can get it in stainless steel, or you can get it in plastic. And even if it is a plastic water bottle, you're still saving enormous numbers of plastic cups everywhere you go, or water bottles. You're still lessening the plastic overall. Another thing you could do is when you're at the grocery store, instead of using the plastic bags that are really a disaster for our recycling system and the environment, please use reusable bags. They can be made out of anything, and I've heard misleading life cycle analysis on plastic bags and how they're more energy in the end, but I've had mine for 10 or 15 years and they're still going strong. So please use those instead of plastic bags. You can also consider buying your fruits and vegetables natural instead of with plastic containers on them. It is certainly going to cut down on the amount of plastic in your home and that's manufactured in general, but At the same time, you should be aware that the fruits and vegetables will go bad more quickly. So you might have to live a more European way of buying your groceries where you buy for a few days rather than for weeks at a time. You also can cut down on the number of plastic bags that you get for fruits and vegetables by buying mesh bags. They have drawstrings and can be used over and over again. So that way you're not picking up a new plastic bag every time and putting your fruit in plastic just to make it home. When you go to buy items for your home, a lot of times you will have a choice between one that is heavily packaged and one that is just sitting on the shelf. Let's say it's a pair of scissors. Some come by themselves and you simply buy the scissors, and some you buy with a big piece of cardboard on one side and a molded shape of plastic on the other. It's really unnecessary for your use and takes longer to undo and ends up with more wasteful packaging. So consider what you're buying and what form it comes in. If you do have plastic bags left over from your groceries, let's say you put meat in them or something that you didn't want to get all over the inside of your reusable bag, you can always use those plastic bags again or find someone else who will. A lot of people will use them for following their dog or for kitty litter, and reuse is a really good way to make the most out of a plastic bag.
The Burlington Parks and Recreation Department has set up a silly walk for members of the public to use during this unprecedented time, and recently invited some town officials and employees to try it. BNEWS reporter Robert Paris has this look.
We all need a little laugh during the time of Corona. This week I headed to the Burlington Town Common, where the Parks and Recreation Department was having some local town officials try out their silly walk.
So what the silly walk is a series of signs with different silly walks. And in this current time of COVID-19 and lots of stress and stuff, it's really something we're promoting as a way to let off some steam. It's okay to be silly, have a good time, go out, spend 15 minutes going through the silly walk, and you might relieve some stress and actually have a good time. And it's okay to go out there and act silly.
There are a variety of walks spread out around the common.
Our walk that we've set up here goes from the gazebo up towards the police station and right out to the sculpture park. So we did that to try to, not only get people out there relaxing a little and de-stressing, acting silly, but also to lead them towards the sculpture park that is quickly going up here in Burlington. Just a way to get people out, relieve some stress, act silly, and have a good time, because really, it's okay to be silly.
From the Burlington Town Common, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Weekly.
Burlington High School Athletic Director Sean Hart provided an update on the 2020-21 sports season during his interview on BNEWS Sports Hub. Let's check it out.
The fall sports season is still up in the air at Burlington High School, and many plans are being discussed right now. After a 5-month hiatus, BNEWS Sports Hub returned with host Liz Gillespie, and this month she had a discussion with the BHS Athletic Director, Sean Hart, about the sports seasons at BHS. Although the sports schedules haven't been released yet, BHS Athletics is doing everything they can to make the season as safe as possible.
The good news is I think that we're a step closer.
Yes,
We're a step
I would
closer.
agree.
You know what I mean? And I think there's going to be some angst to the startup. I think there's going to be some angst to sports. I think there's going to be some angst to everything we do.
Yeah.
But I think that if we just sit back and remember that we've never done it before, and if we do it well, great. If we do it not well, we'll figure it out and we'll make some adjustments. But just have patience with everybody.
One thing the athletes will miss is the social interaction and celebrations with their teammates on the field.
You miss your friends, you miss your buddies, you miss the camaraderie that we all crave, So I think sports is a huge outlet for that, and I think that we build some of our biggest and best relationships ever by in sports.
Yep.
And I think it's kind of that scenario. So I think my biggest fear is that if we have to stop again and we all start to lose some of those things again.
Yeah.
But I think even bigger than that, I'd give it all up. I'd put it a stop right now. I'd give it all up if we could say that everybody would just be healthy again.
Yeah.
And not afraid of all these little things. I'd just be like, I'm totally fine with being done for the whole year if it made everybody in our community safe again.
Social distancing, hand washing, and face coverings will be key for BHS athletics this coming season.
The thing that everybody needs to remember is that this is not only worldwide is it a delicate situation, but for athletics right now, we found a way to build it back using smaller seasons. They're going to be way shorter. They might only play once a week. You know what I mean? We're only going to play on one location.
Yeah.
We're going to sanitize between everything. We're going to use new equipment when you can to move things in and out of games.
Smart.
We're going to do all those things to take care of business. We're going to wipe down every surface. There will be nobody in the gyms when we play at times. So all of those things are precautions, but one group who decides that we're going to go do this and hang out together and somebody gets sick ends it all.
I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Sports.
We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown for the latest forecast. We'll also check out this week's community calendar with Jolie Atwood to see what's happening in Burlington.
Hello everyone, this is Peter Brown with a look at the weather for the next 7 days. And I know it's hard to believe we are at the tail end of August when we are heading into September and the start of meteorological fall. Hard to believe that the summer went by so quickly, but we still have some great weather ahead for you. Now, as we start out with a look at the almanac that we're seeing here late in August, August 27th to be exact, we see our average temperatures at this time of the year should be right around 80, and we're going to pretty much see that for the next 7 days, actually a little bit below average, if you can believe it, for the next 7 days. As we get to the end of the period, I know some of you hard to believe and don't want to see it, but September 2nd, average highs at this time of the year should be the upper 70s, and that's pretty much where we're going to be. So nothing too hot, nothing too cold. As you can see, for our record highs, even in September, it can still get up into the triple digits, but we are going to be nowhere near that. And if you look at our sunrise and sunset times, the sun is now rising after 6 o'clock in the morning, so there will be no pre-6 a.m. sunrises until we get into the middle of next spring. So as we go ahead, let's take a look at what we're expecting in terms of temperatures and precip for the next 7 days. And on the temperature side, look at this. This is the first time in probably a few months that the Climate Prediction Center is expecting us to have actually average or maybe even a small chance of slightly below average temperatures. So that's a big change. As we go ahead now, looking further ahead, it doesn't look like that's going to be lasting. Looks like September is going to start out pretty warm as we get past and into the next period. But as we go ahead, let's take a look at what we're looking for in terms of precipitation. And this is something that a lot of you gardeners and everything out there are really looking forward to. It looks like we have the chance of maybe some above average precipitation. And that's going to be all dependent on how much rain we really get out of what's left of what will be Hurricane Laura. Hopefully that will bring us some steady and beneficial rains. Won't put any bets on it yet because, of course, we've predicted that many times this past summer, and it really hasn't come to fruition. But we'll keep an eye out. Hopefully we will get some of that nice rain that's left from that storm. Now, as we go ahead, let's take a look at some of that great weather that we have coming up for the next 7 days. And as you notice here, I actually have quite a few rain icons on here. That's something we haven't seen much of. Starting out up here on Thursday, we'll have a chance of some scattered showers. Around it, temperatures fairly pleasant in the mid-70s, and they'll warm up a little bit as we head into the latter portion of the period, up into the 80s when we get into Thursday. Now, Saturday, that's when we might see the remnants of Hurricane Laura coming by us. Hopefully, we'll get some beneficial rain out of that. Not sure again yet, but it's going to be kind of a warm and humid day, so not a great start to your weekend. But looking at Sunday, looks like it's going to be beautiful. And Monday, if you're going out, it's going to actually be a little bit chilly in the morning stepping out. Temperatures only in the low 70s. So, folks, we do have some beautiful weather coming up as we start into the beginning of September. So, everyone, get out there, have a great week, and enjoy the weather.
Everyone, I'm Jolie Atwood, and this is your community calendar. Celebrate the release of the children's novel. On Thursday, September 3rd at 6:30 p.m., the Burlington Public Library will be having a virtual party in honor of the new Babysitters Club graphic novel, Logan Likes Marianne. Pre-registration is required, and everyone is welcome to attend the virtual event. Go to burlington.org to sign up or call the library at 781-270-1690. Get out and enjoy some good food and music. On Friday, September 4th from 6 to 9 p.m., Jack's Coal-Fired Pizza will be having Alan Goodrich come perform. Everyone is welcome. For more info, call 781-272-2600. What's the name? The Burlington Sculpture Park Committee is holding a Name the Big Dog contest. Entires deadline are before September 20th. The winning family will get a t-shirt and a photo session with the sculpture. For more info, go to burlingtonsculpturepark.org. I'm Jolie Atwood, and that was your community calendar.
Another week, another photo to highlight. This week's photo shows the power of nature can be both scary and amazing. It was sent in by Joe Brown of JoeBrownPhotos.com and shows a lightning strike he captured from Mary Cummings Park on Blanchard Road on Sunday, August 23rd. Quite a shot. Thank you for the photo, Joe. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of your summer activities, a family trip, or just everyday moments, whatever you think is interesting and would like to share with us and with the community. Email your photos to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line Photo of the Week. And that's it from the news desk here at BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with Rich Hosford, Tad Stefanak, John Vias, Robert Paris, Peter Brown, and Jolie Atwood. Thank you for joining us.